Live from the 22 News Studios, this is a Decision 2014 special program. Today, a debate with candidates for the 2nd Hampden and Hampshire District, Massachusetts Senate seat. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. 22 News is working for you this week as we let the candidates you'll see on the ballot next Tuesday debate the issues. Today it's the candidates running for the state Senate seat in the 2nd Hampden and Hampshire District. Incumbent Republican Senator Don Humason of Westfield and Democratic primary winner Patrick Leahy of Holyoke. This is a Lincoln Douglas style debate where the candidates will ask each other the questions with time for answers and rebuttal. First, each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement, and Senator Humason goes first. Senator Humason.
Thank you, Rich, and thank all of you for watching. Patrick, thank you for being here today. My name is Senator Don Humason. I am the state senator for Agawam, Southwick, Granville, and Talland, East Hampton and Southampton, Russell and Montgomery, and of course Westfield, Holyoke, and Chicopee. And it's good to be here in Chicopee today to tape this debate. For the past 11 months, I've had the opportunity to serve this district as their state senator. Before that, it was 11 years as Westfield's state representative. And even before that, I served as Senator Mike Knapik's chief of staff and learned at the hand of a master legislator, a person who was a great mentor and friend to me. I want to say thank you to all the people who helped elect me last year in November, and thank you for everyone who has helped me over this past 11-month cycle get to know this district. I promised I would hit the ground running, and I've really enjoyed the chance to do that. I'm proud of the accomplishments that I've had. I have a 100% voting record in the state Senate, having never missed a single roll call vote, and I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to have my own 2-year term. So certainly after this debate, I hope you will decide that I'm the right choice and elect for me. Thank you. Patrick
Leahy, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Channel 22, for having us back. And Don, thank you for agreeing to debate us again. I think that the residents in the 2nd Hampden, Hampshire District certainly will have their option to, the chance to hear us debate. My name is Patrick Leahy, and I'm running for state Senate because I believe we get the government that we deserve. I think it's essential that people put their name forward. As a police officer in the city of Holyoke, I've seen time and time again how sometimes laws created in Boston miss their mark on the streets in the cities of Holyoke. I want to, as I've talked to people on their doorsteps, knocking on their doors, people are concerned about public safety. They're concerned about education. We need an advocate down in Boston that will represent all of us, the entire district, all corners of it. I hope to be that candidate. My name is Patrick Leahy, and I hope to earn your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Once again, gentlemen, this is a Lincoln Douglas style debate. That's where each candidate has 30 seconds to ask a question, then 60 seconds to answer, and then 30 seconds for rebuttal. So those are hard times that we try to stay with. So for the first question, Patrick Leahy will go first. Patrick?
Thank you, Rich. Don, we've talked about this several times on the campaign trail. This has been a reoccurring theme. And in our last debate, you had very strong words for me, but can you now prove to us, as we've talked about for the last 4 months, that you've been the lead sponsor for more than just 4 pieces of legislation in your time in the State House that have been signed into law?
Pat, I can prove to you that even in the past 11 months I've sponsored and gotten signed into law more than 4 pieces of legislation. Thank you for the question about my accomplishments, because it's one of the things that I'm proudest of. You know, it's a little bit different when we go around the Senate district and talk to people. I'm not hearing from folks that, you know, Massachusetts has too few laws, we really need more. What I am hearing from people is that they want a responsive senator and someone who will listen to the mayors and selectmen and city councils and the people of the district that we represent. So certainly in these past 11 months, I've been very proud to work with your state representative in Holyoke, Aaron Vega, to pass the volleyball bill, for example. My friend John Syback in East Hampton to pass the Korean War Memorial Bill and get that bridge bill signed. We're going to do a dedication in 2 weeks, right after the election is over. In the bond bills that we have, not just budgets, but bonds, I've been able to get so many things in that it's hard. I have a long list of accomplishments, including money for the Galaxy Council to promote the air show and other projects that really help our district economically. So it's been my pleasure.
Rebuttal?
Thank you, Rich. Time and time again, we've seen that Don Humason, over 11 years as a state rep, hasn't taken the lead on any legislation. The 4 pieces of legislation that were signed into law were non-controversial land transfers. We need somebody who's going to advocate on our behalf aggressively and make sure that our voices are heard down in Boston. We don't have that right now. We need to move in that direction.
Senator Humason, your first question, please.
Thank you. Patrick, this summer I received a call from Governor Patrick's office telling me that he and President Obama were looking into housing hundreds of illegal immigrants, either at Cape Cod or at Westover. I advised the governor not to do it, and ultimately they chose not to. Pat, what would your advice have been to the governor?
The first thing that you did when that happened was you got on TV and you practiced fear and smear. You offered no plan. Now, we have to understand that was a federal choice that would have been made by the federal delegation. We need to work hand in hand with the federal delegation. So it's a moot point now, but the fact is the first thing you did was get on TV and social media and talk about non-important things. We need somebody. You didn't have a plan. You didn't offer a plan. And all you talked about was the fear of these, I forget the terminology you used, but it was just very unsenatorial. I was very disappointed in the way that you acted. We need somebody who's going to be proactive and make decisions and help craft decisions, not go to social media sites and say bombastic things to get people fired up.
Rebuttal.
Pat, what I said was, no, it's not right for Westover. And I listened both to the Republican mayor, Mayor Koss, and the Democratic state representative, Representative Joe Wagner, as well as the people of Chicopee and the Chicopee City Council, when they too were opposed to housing illegal immigrants at Westover here in Chicopee. It wasn't my plan. It was my job to oppose Governor Patrick and President Obama's plan. And I think in the end, they made the right choice.
Mr. Leahy, your next question, please.
In this theme, Don, you voted against gay marriage and even in favor of resurrecting a law from 1913 that has its roots in banning interracial marriage. You voted against a buffer zone for women to visit physicians without being harassed. You voted for the death penalty, and you voted against budgets that raise revenue, as we've discussed, and against common sense gun laws. Where have you ever broken with the far extreme right of your party for the good of the district?
Patrick, you're the only person in this race or in any race I've ever had that's ever accused me of being a Tea Party Republican or a far-right Republican. What I am, though, is a principled individual. When I was a state representative and now as a senator, I consider the facts of the issues before me, the input from the constituents that I hear from, and obviously my own conscience when I take a vote. And sometimes, Patrick, I don't take the politically expedient vote. I take the vote that I feel is right, understanding that it's going to be my role as a senator to explain it to the people that I represent. And you know what? They don't always agree with me, and that's okay. I don't have to be agreed with all the time, but I do have to do my job to explain my position on bills, whether they're budgetary, whether they're fiscal or social. I have to explain them, and I do. And that's why I go to our friends in the media or to our constituents who follow me on Facebook or other social websites. It's the best way to talk to and receive input from the people that I represent, and I'm very proud of that job.
Rebuttal.
Time and time again, Don Humason has voted against civil liberties for marriage equality. He's voted against women's reproductive rights. He's voted against women having the ability just to go to their doctor without being harassed. Don says that he does this on a vote of his conscience and because he hears, he asks his God how to help make decisions. We need a person who's going to advocate on behalf of everybody and make sure that people are safe in our district.
Senator Humason, your next question, please.
Thanks, Rich. You know, this November, Western Mass is losing 2 seasoned House members in Sean Curran and Cheryl Coakley Rivera, and a veteran state senator in Gail Canderas, who also represents Chicopee here. Pat, your election to the Senate would mean a further loss of experienced, seasoned, senior legislators in Western Mass. In a legislative body where seniority is almost as important as party, how would you be able to serve the people and communities of our district when you would be at the bottom in terms of legislative seniority?
I'm proud to have the support and endorsement of Representative Sybeck, of Representative Vega. I am also proud to have the endorsement of Stan Rosenberg, who is going to be our next Senate president. He will be the person who chooses where people sit in the Senate chamber. I also look forward to working with everybody that's elected down there. I think that when we have issues in Boston, Don Humason, as a sole Republican or a lonely Republican, is out in the hallway when decisions are being made. He's not at the decision-making table. So we need somebody who's going to have a voice at that table. Don, in his 11 years at the State House as a state rep, never rose in the ranks as a Republican, never became the whip. He's now a minority whip because there's only 4 people there. We need somebody who's going to be active and at the table. And with Stan Rosenberg's strong endorsement of my candidacy, who's going to be the Senate president, I know that I will be at the table advocating on your behalf.
Rebuttal.
Patrick, the only endorsement that I seek is the endorsement of the people who live in the 11 communities of this district. And they've given it to me. And I'm looking forward to earning it in the next week before the election, November 4th. You say that my experience shouldn't count for anything, and let me use an example that you should understand. Should a police cadet just out of the police academy be promoted to captain? I don't think so. I think first they need time to learn and grow in the job, and my experience has gotten me to where I am today.
Mr. Leahy, your next question, please.
Don, you voted against multiple budgets, which are the lifeblood for resources to our cities and towns and vital organizations. You say that you've only voted in favor of half of them, and the most recent budget you voted against was the 2014 budget because there was a poison pill. Yet the poison pill created the funds for the 2015 budget that you voted for. Can you tell the people at home why it is that you like to have it both ways and spend the money that is raised by people who actually stand up and make the hard votes?
So, Pat, from time to time, your party puts forward what I would consider damaging tax increases, things that harm our fragile economy. FY 2014 budget was no different. They proposed over a $500 million, well, originally a $1.9 billion tax increase. We finally got it down through the House to a $500 million tax increase at a time when the economy was just starting to recover. I felt like that kind of tax increase on top of a faltering economy would not be good for either the small businesses, the employers, or the individuals that we represent. You then turn around and say, well, you voted against this budget. Of course I did. That's exactly the job of a senator. Sometimes you need to vote for things that are good for your district and against things that are bad. And I do that because I listen to the people that I represent, and they tell me that they don't want more taxes or bigger government. And that's what they get.
Rebuttal.
Again, this is a classic example of a typical politician in Boston trying to have it both ways. It wouldn't fly in the Holyoke Police Department. I'm sure it wouldn't fly at where you work. This is a case where Don has, again, voted against $290 million in resources. He's voted against the Veterans Cemetery, the Holyoke Soldiers Home. These are the things that are in our budget, that are funded by these. And then he votes against it so he can say he kept the government small, but then he votes the next year for it because he's already got the money in the budget. It's just having it both ways doesn't smell right.
Senator Humason, your next question, please.
Pat, you've repeatedly attacked me for passing bills like the Holyoke Volleyball Bill or the East Hampton Korean War Memorial Bridge Bill because they were filed by my predecessor, Mike Knappich, and not me. But these bills are important to my constituents. Your brother Jim is the president of the Volleyball Hall of Fame, and last week at the induction ceremony, he seemed pretty happy that Rep. Vega and I got that volleyball bill passed. So what would you have done? Would you have worked to pass the law even though your name wasn't on it? Or would you have waited till next season when you could refile it and got your name on the bill?
My brother is a long-term city councilor in the city of Holyoke. The Leahys have given back to the city of Holyoke. We've been brought up that way. My younger brother is a police officer in the city of Holyoke. Another brother is a police officer in Las Vegas. We've constantly served the cities in which we live. I will file and push forward all the legislation that is left over by your administration, and I'll make sure that it gets done. The issue isn't taking the ball and getting over the goal line, it's initiating legislation. I'm the only person in this race that's talking about working on funding formulas, that's talking about working on the homeless and hotel issue, that's talking about the funding formulas for our seniors. There has been no plans by Mr. Humason for any of these things. In fact, when asked what would be his first piece of legislation, he had no answer. He said, well, there's not one thing that I would do. There are so many things that need to get done. We need to stop kicking a can down the road, and that's what's been happening under Mr. Humason's over a decade of experience at the State House.
Rebuttal.
Pat, you are typical of candidates who have no experience, no voting record, and nothing to stand on, attacking someone who in fact has a proud record, someone who doesn't miss votes, someone who shows up, listens to his constituents, and gets the job done. Now, you criticize me whether I worked on a bill or didn't work on a bill, so I know that I can't have it both ways, and I certainly know that I can't get away with anything with you because whether I do it or not, you are going to criticize me. But I don't need to please you, Pat. I need to please the folks out there. And so far, they seem pretty happy with the representation they're getting from Senator Humason.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a short 2-minute break and then more questions and answers from the candidates running for the 2nd Hampden and Hampshire District in the State Senate. You're watching 22 News.